EMRS TV, and I'm very honored to have here two gentlemen who are very important to us. It's Dr. Michael FITZSIMMONS, the EMRS President, and Todd OSMAN, Dr. Todd OSMAN, EMRS Executive Director. So welcome and thanks for being here today. So I start with you, Mr. FITZSIMMONS. So the EMRS stands for Materials Research Society. So for those of the audience who are probably not so familiar with what you do, could you explain what the goals are of the organization?
Sure. So the Materials Research Society is an organization of about 14,000 members, about half of whom come from outside of North America. And the goal of the organization is to get people to work together, a network, to communicate their science with each other, and we do that through two different methods. So we have meetings like we have here in Nice, but we also have publications, and part of that is also webs and internets and so forth. And that's how we get people to talk to each other.
And could you maybe explain a bit what the relationship is between EMRS and EMRS? And also the other, I think there are many more other branches of
Well, so the EMRS was founded in 1973, and I think we just learned that in 1983 the EMRS was founded, right? Yes. So I think that's sort of an outgrowth of the original EMRS.
Okay. And so in 2019, what do you think are some of the greatest challenges that the Material Research Society has to overcome?
In material science? So I see there are two kinds of challenges. One there has to do with social challenges. So for instance, we lack a diversity of community in our field, and that's not just true for material science, but it's true for physics and chemistry and so forth. So that if you go to college in the United States, more than half of the students are women, and yet there's only about 26% of women and underrepresented minorities in the field of material science and physics and so forth. And so I think one of the big challenges in our community is to become more inclusive of everybody. Then there's the other part, so that was a social challenge, right? And there's a technical challenge too. So we have, and we see here, the possibilities of disruptive technology. So for instance, I was in Symposium O a couple of days ago, and I listened to talks about atomic layer deposition. And so it's essentially using additive manufacturing techniques to create new structures that we do with vapor deposition right now. But you could almost make new kinds of materials with inkjet printers, right? And so that is a disruptive technology. It teaches us, it allows us to make new materials and do new innovative things. And then there's also opportunities in machine learning too. So in machine learning, you want to create algorithms that can help you predict what the next materials are. And that's disruptive. In a good way. But it also requires scientists to understand that they want to put their data out on the web for everybody to see, so that you can use the data to train these machine learning algorithms.
Okay. And I just learned today that you will also have a conference in the US this year for EMRS, is that correct?
So we have two conferences. Yes, we have one in fall just after Thanksgiving in Boston. And then we just completed one in Phoenix at the spring EMRS. So we have two conferences.
And would you say some of the trends that are discussed here, is there an interconnection between the two conferences?
Yeah, yes. So for sure. So we can see. I mean, a lot of our customers or members of our society come from Europe to our conferences as well. So there's a lot of communication. So both the EMRS and the EMRS are doing really good jobs in trying to get people together to talk. Right. That's how we make progress.
Thanks so much. So, Mr. Osman, can you share with us what you are currently working on in the EMRS, and probably a bit more what your role is in the organization?
Well, one thing that we always have to do as a society is be relevant to the community. And one of the main things we're refocusing on is engaging across generations. It's been 30 years since I was on campus, and I don't know exactly what the students want and early career faculty want, and so we have to listen to them. We have to engage them how they want to be engaged, engage them in the society. So one of the main things we're doing at MRS now is recommitting ourselves to engaging across the generations and being relevant in their careers. How do we help them with their careers, whether giving them high quality forum to present their work at our meetings or publish in our presentation, in our journals. But also we need to engage the membership if we're going to fulfill our mission. We're trying to engage the community to advance materials research and innovation and improve the quality of life. And without our members engaged in that mission, we're not going to be successful. We have 48 staff in Pittsburgh, one in Washington, D.C., but we need over 1,000 volunteers per year to do what we do. So we're really doubling down and committing to doing that, to move the society forward and engage the next generation differently than when Mike and I were in school. What we need in our points of career is different than what they need at their point.
Okay. So what would you tell a young scientist, so why should he come to the MRS or be engaged in the society?
Well, I think as Mike can attest as well, is you make lifelong friends. I used to work in the industry, and a lot of times when I had a problem that came up, you only get part of the solution by going to a conference and listening to a talk or reading a paper. It's the people you meet and how they influence your career, how you have a network built up. When you have a problem, you can reach out to someone across the world and get some insight that they've seen. And that's the diversity that Mike was talking about, is the diversity of opinion, diversity of insight and perspectives that are really going to move the society forward. And I encourage any person coming out of college that they need to engage in a professional society, preferably the Materials Research Society, but one that they could find a home in and build a community, because it's going to advance their career. And they're going to be much more effective in moving science and engineering forward if they do it as a community than alone.
Perfect. And what we noticed in the talks before we had, also in the interviews, and what is also interesting for Fraunhofer IWKS is the topic of sustainability. So materials and sustainability, so I heard in a lot of interviews, well, this material can help to be more sustainable, to help, well, save or protect resources. So how do you think can material science or the future of material sciences support the efforts to become more sustainable at the home?
Absolutely, and we have a large thrust within MRS on sustainability. We have a focus on sustainability group that does a lot of programming, but materials are the key. And every advancement through history, there's been a materials innovation that's got us there, and it's going to be the same way in the future. In order to make materials more sustainable, we need innovations, whether it's looking at hazardous substance, replacing them with viable options that have the same performance, that move things forward, and then that becomes more sustainable and more eco-friendly. It's absolutely going to be relying upon new innovations that the next generation is going to create.
Thank you so much. Thank you for being here with us today, and have a nice rest of the conference.
Thank you so much.